All right, Scott Erickson, so good to be with you.
Here I
Um,
am. Here you are. Here we
Here we
are.
are. Scott, you are a painter, you are an artist, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a creator of so much weirdness and goodness in the world. And you are going to be a guide in Malibu in November with Pastors, Priests, and Guides. And so we are so glad for that.
Mm.
Yeah,
I was honored to
thank
be
you.
asked. I'm
Yeah.
excited to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this conversation is going to be short. I just want this is like getting to know Scott. Want to get to know you a little bit. Many are already familiar with your work, of course, but for those who aren't, I'm gonna ask a couple questions about your story and your work and all that. But maybe I can begin with this question: why does art matter,
Mm.
especially when the world seems to be burning down? Why does art still matter?
It's like I'm on the chopping block for my career, my vocation right now. I think, okay. I think as human beings, as a human species, what really sets us apart from other species on this planet is our ability to make tools. And I think we make tools to deal with like the change that's happening. And whatever we're adapting ourselves to, or an environment or whatever, we're like, I need to solve a problem, or I need to come up with a solution. So I invent a tool. And I think that artistic process and religion making are some of our greatest tools that we've made. They're
Wow.
both tools for integrating the change that's happening around us. So with religion making, um, they're really rooted in like seasonal changes. The weather's changing, the ground is changing, the environment. Also, births and deaths, marriages, separations, gains, losses. How do we deal with that communally? Will we create like ceremonies and gatherings and processes and those are healing to us when we kind of corporately walk through it together, talk about it, grieve, release our shame, receive redemption, that kind of thing. And I think that art making is the similar process. It might be done in a very solitary way. It just depends on your medium. I mean, I know musicians are very collaborative.
Mhm.
I'm more of like a lonely man in a cave, and then I come out. But my grief can only become a gift once it's given. So
Mhm.
there's this process of integrating, turning the tragedy into a comedy, turning the pain into a balm. And so I think when we're especially, and it feels like we're always changing, the world is always changing, and it is these tools, so prayers, images, songs, poems, these are footholds for us in like the sea of in the tumultuous sea that we find ourselves.
Mhm.
They help us. I actually would say like they tether us to a deeper identity, which is you are my beloved.
Mhm.
And because so many things want to say something differently, and so many things want to lead us to a different conclusion. And I know in my own just practice as a person, I'm always collecting prayers, poems, songs, images to connect with that tethered place, that deep anchored
Mhm.
place in me. And then in my own vocation, I've tried to create those for others. And
Mhm.
so that's why I think art is important. Bombs and money are going to change things too, and are maybe more on the headlines of news. But when we are confronted with our own grief and sorrow, that's when I think art isn't just a luxury; it's like a necessity. And
Yeah.
that's when we come back to this kind of I need this thing to process what I'm um, to give words. Has anybody felt this way before? Who else has said it? Did they make something of it? How'd they get through it? That's what we look for. And
Yeah.
it's usually some kind of artistic expression is the road that we can walk down.
Yeah. Oh, so well said. I want to talk a little bit about the art that you're making, but first, just to jump on that, can you tell us about one piece of art that has done that for you?
one piece of art that has done that for me.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a song, it can be something visual, it can be
Yeah,
anything.
I have like so much art in
Of
in
course.
my
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Narrow it down to one
Uh,
single piece for your whole life. No, but
I wasn't prepared for this. Um, yeah. Well, I often make my own things.
yeah.
So, I mean, not to like support my new book that's
No,
coming out.
show us. Yeah.
Um, a book that, an image that this was almost, so I got a book coming out called In the Low, which is prayers, word and image prayers. There it is. For this, for a low season, depression, anxiety, grief. And this was almost actually the cover, but it is a person in a rowboat, but they are rowing underwater.
Oh, yes.
And, this is a shocking image, but often we don't always feel like we're Jonah and the
Yeah.
whale. It actually wasn't supposed to be Jonah and the whale, but I know it's the only other story about being it. But the belly of the beast,
Yeah.
down in the cave,
Yeah.
the descent into the underworld. But this almost was the cover because I'm pretty functional even when I'm depressed, but because I can get stuff done, I can still pick up my kids, I can still make dinner. But how I see everything, it's just like nothing makes sense. And like I'm seeing a completely different world than anybody else is. And this helps me because it leads me to a question that actually I use a lot when I find myself in kind of a place I don't know what to do, which is, what is the only conversation I can have by being in this place? Because then that flips my situation into like, oh, there's something broken in me or I'm being punished, to going, well, maybe I'm in this place because this is a protest of my soul. Maybe I'm in this place because something deep within me is going, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to do this way. And then, and also the narrative of the adult world is bullshit. And I don't want to play along anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, uh, probably, I don't know if my friend Nadia Boltzweber, maybe she's your friend too. Oh, she's a friend to all of us. But, at Rachel Held Evans' funeral, I think she said this because I have a picture of Mary, who's the apostle of the apostles, the first resurrection preacher. And she said why Mary could see Jesus is because she had night vision. She knew how to see light in dark places. And I think that like part of our invitation as a person is to move from the low as a punishment to the low is an invitation to know something about the breadth of a human experience, and that I can see light in dark places. And then to be in one of my favorite books about ministry, which is Henry Nouwen's In the Name of in the Name of Jesus. He's like, the minister needs to be the person who can see under the glitz and glamour of everything and know that there's a deep despair in there. And then to know that despair and then been able to minister to that despair. So there you go.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my next question. I love this book. It was, I don't know if I told you this, this winter, I was in a pretty low place, and I was sharing with our mutual friend, Jonathan, and he was receiving it. And then he got home and he sent me the early PDF, which I'm sorry, that was probably illegal.
No, that's great.
It was so meaningful.
Oh, that's great.
I felt seen. I felt like, yeah. And what it did along your lines is it shifted it from how do I get out of this as soon as possible so good things can happen?
Yeah.
To, I wonder what could happen while I'm here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so profound.
That's great. That's great. The reason I'm not trying to like pitch my own book, but it's like,
I'm trying to pitch your book.
Well, thank
it
you.
was that helpful for me.
But I made this mostly for me. Like I was really going through something on Monday, and I opened my own book and I worked through a prayer because I was like, I needed this collection that's not just like notes in my phone. Yeah. Because it's like what I was talking with a friend. It's just like, because he was like, "Oh, what are your favorite prayer books?" And I have some. I have like Hearts on Fire, the Jesuit prayer
Yep.
book, and
Yep.
but but then I have like just some art books. They're not prayer books. They're
Yeah.
just like collection of pictures. So I
Yeah.
don't know of another book that has a collection of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like when you are in this spot, what do you reach for?
Hmm.
Um, and I definitely reach for scripture or prayers or things, but in my own particular way that I am, I also reach for like
Yeah.
an image. One of my favorites, I don't know the author or I use it a lot, but I don't know the guy, but there's one where it's like a court jester. You've probably seen it. He's like wearing a red outfit, but
Okay.
he's like sad in this palace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen that one? It's
Oh
just a
yeah,
court
for sure.
jester and he's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah.
And I use that one a lot of like,
Wow.
it's okay to feel like I want to make jokes and I want to entertain, but
Yep.
but being in that capacity also means I feel the intensity of, for me, it's my Enneagram 4-ness, or, it's just like, I don't get to know the joys of life without knowing the lows of life. And I just have to
Absolutely.
be okay with that knowledge.
Fellow
Yeah.
four. Yeah, yeah, fellow four. What I love about that sad court gesture photo is both are true.
Yeah.
His work as a jester does not eliminate the sorrow, but the sorrow doesn't eliminate that work either.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
both true.
Yeah.
Um,
Just throw on Smokey Robinson's Tears of a Clown and we're set.
Tears. Oh man. So you mentioned some more of your work, and I wanted to ask you about the like one man shows that you've been doing. Really intrigued by the intersection of story and comedy and practice. You're very tactile, of course, inviting people into this experience. And side note, secret announcement, but the first night of the retreat in Malibu is going to be a bit of a Scout the Painter full experience. And so, but it doesn't have to be that particular, but tell us about the last show that you're doing. Say Yes. Was that the last one?
Yeah. So I did that for like 5 years. And then I stopped intentionally touring it. Like I actually did it a couple months ago. Somebody hired me to do it, but because I wanted to make space for the next one, which has gone a lot slower than I'd like. But I do think after this book comes out, I'm like, I think I know the next kind of way to move forward with it. It came, let me tell like a quick story is that, I got invited to be on a panel at this Christians in Visual Arts SIVA conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm sure, David Taylor, he invited me to be on this panel. And so I got to go to the conference. So it's Christians in Visual Arts. And I was at this conference, I'm sitting there in the audience, and for me, it looked like, it was just like art professor after art professor getting up with a piece of paper and just reading their dissertation. And
Wild.
after a while, I was just like looking around. I'm like, I'm sorry, is this an arts conference?
Yes,
Where
yes.
are the weirdos? Like, where's I wanted a guy who looked like Doc Brown from Back to the Future, just being like, hi, I made all these paintings in my garage and smelled the chemicals. And I don't know, I was like, because that's how that's the weirdos that's who I feel like. And then I was like, oh, this is actually how I feel about church. Is like, church has become this like button up, like, this is so important. Look how important this is. And I'm like, where are the weirdos? And don't get me wrong, the church is one place where weirdos can become members. There's lots of weirdos, but like, meaning like, I think real spirituality brings you to the crossroads of like, I don't know what to think about my experience. Like, there's something where you're like, I don't have answers anymore. I just have more questions. It's like more of a paradoxical thing. And actually, when I look into the tradition and the sacred text, I'm like, oh, there's plenty of weirdos. This is actually all about people who go, something happened to me, and is this where I talk about it? Is this where we're discussing like how we move forward with this? And so a long time, like 10 years ago, when I really decided to enter into my vocation, one of the things I didn't have language to say it, but I was like, I want to talk about God. I want to make art about it, and I want to make weird liturgies, meaning I want to make ceremonies about the things that seemingly get left out of our religious experiences. Like, so Say Yes was my attempt to make a church service about suicide, because I'd never been to one.
Wow.
But I've been to church services that were so boring that I wanted to die during them. And I laughed too. And when I said that to myself, and I was like, oh, you have to make a comedy. You have to make like a weird comedy art show about, and not just suicide's in there, but it's on the spectrum of giving up on ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I have, I have a dad who watched 5 hours of TV every night his whole life. And now older is just like, I never did this, I never did that. And it's like, well, you had time. But because on the spectrum of giving up on yourself can be like, I'm just looking for something to pass the time. It can also be like, I'm going to open this bottle. I'm going to take this pill. I'm going to be on my phone endlessly to numb the pain that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And the bigger, like the kind of the root was like, we all know that life is a miracle, but why does the miracle suck at times? And if there's a giver of that miracle, do they have anything to say about it? And that's kind of what I wanted to discuss.
Wow. Yes.
And then the one before that was I vocationally burned out at a church. And I went through a long season of depression. But right at the beginning, I had this, I would just pray with this woman in my community. She would just pray for me, this older woman, Rosemary. And I went into this like prayer trance, and I had this vision, non-drug induced. I had this vision with first a fake Jesus and then kind of real Jesus, who I could only really kind of see out of the corner of my eye always, but like it, and he showed me something about my identity that it was only like a year and a half after I came out of my depression. And I was like, what happened? And how do I make sense of that? And so I was like, I need to put it together in a way that maybe there's a gift in your existential crisis, and so I was kind of learning how to do it. So my next thing that I'm discussing that I want to discuss is, it was kind of what we talked about earlier, which is how do you take your pain and turn it into something? Which I think is what art making and religion making is. And there's actually this like archetype of the shaman or the healer who goes through something difficult and then becomes the person who leads the ceremony. So it's actually from your descent into the underworld and your destruction that you're put back together, and then you become a gift and a healer, which I actually think is the Christ journey and the journey of the Christian disciple. I mean, now and talks about it in The Wounded Healer. Jesus comes back, shows his disciples his scarred hands, and says, just like I was sent, you'll be sent too. And I think the surprise of our life is the thing that we thought we failed at the most becomes the way that we minister to others. And so I was like, I haven't quite figured out how to make it comedic and entertaining, although I have some bits, but I'm like, maybe there's a night of just going, maybe you forgot, but let's lay this out. So whenever you find yourself in this process, you're like, oh, I'm here. Because there is this like process of the alchemy of turning pain into healing, of meaninglessness into meaningfulness. Yeah. And I think more than ever, especially since we're losing all of our ways of being held up, I think we're being asked as a church, as a community, maybe even as a country to go, what do we value the most and what do we want to make? And I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. There's like, it's too big. And I'm
sure.
Like,
yeah.
I'm just trying to find like the real small thing. So, but it comes out of this. Here's the other thing is just like, I just deeply disagree that there's one way to give a sermon, that there's one model and even joking wise, I love Roar. And I went to this, one of their conferences down in Albuquerque, but I was like, God, is everybody who's talking have a lisp? Meaning they're always like, okay, let's center. God. And it's like, is that the only way to talk about spirituality?
Isn't that
Is-
funny?
Is
Yes.
lisping?
Yes.
Because
Wow.
I've had deep spiritual moments at a rock show, in a
Yep.
bar, with a vulgar Scottish band, at a comedy show. I was like, the divine can break through in all kinds of places. And I'm more aligned with, I do think, comedy without pause can be distracting, but I think comedy is so aligned with like despair and so like or sorrow, and so those two together are really helpful. So anyways, it's just kind of my like, this is the kind what I want to, it's like, what do I want to go to?
Yep,
It's like,
yep.
okay, I got to make the thing that I want to go to. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I'm looking for.
If I was like a 9 excited for you to be with us in Malibu, I am now in 11 or 12.
Oh, this one goes
Scott,
to 11.
This one
Yeah.
goes, yeah, it's topical. Oh my, yes. Will you help us break out of the one way to do just about everything? Like,
Oh,
will you
man.
help us dream again? Will you help us
For sure.
find-
But I
yeah.
also, I don't have all the pieces. See here, I know you know this too, because you're an art maker, is the spirit will show you a vision that you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know how to quite get there.
Yeah.
But you start walking and then the pieces come together. So I'm paying attention to how interesting that you asked me to be a part of this at this time.
Mhm.
And that when I look at all these gaps in the places that I don't have the answers for, now I understand. I'm like, well, who are you going to be with? Who are you going to, what is in your schedule? Because these are and keep your eyes and ears open, because this is where the puzzle pieces will be given to you.
Yeah.
So I will help. I will bring my thing, but I'm in the transformation too.
Yeah.
I'm like going, I really believe, like for me, I'm more interested in what's hiding out in the audience than what I have in my notes to say,
Yeah.
and that, so I think I'd be really, some of the things that I'm planning on doing with us together is, we're going to do a big art project where you're going to, you're going to make something for yourself. I'll give you the tools for that and the setup, but that's what's going to happen.
Beautiful. For those who want to prepare, get to know you a little bit more, where do they go for your work?
Man, I'm later in my 40s, so I'm really only one social media outlet.
Okay.
A lot, which is Instagram.
Okay.
Maybe some TikTok every now and then, but and I don't know what's going on Facebook. But so that's where you can catch social media. I'm weekly on a Substack, and I offer spiritual formation through image contemplation on that. And then my website, scottericksonart.com, it has kind of
The overview.
future shows and links to videos, and you can see my show Say Yes that I stopped doing. We filmed it all, so it's on YouTube. So you can watch the whole thing for free if you want.
Okay.
Or snippets of it. Yeah.
Scott, thank you. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, Aaron.
I cannot wait till November.
Yeah.
So, sorry it has to be in such an ugly place, but
Oh man,
we'll muddle through.
Santa Barbara, right? Santa Barbara or no, it's Malibu. It's
Malibu, yes, even
Close
better.
there, even
Yeah.
better. Okay.
Still beautiful, but yeah. All right.
Okay.
Many blessings to you.